How do you develop your people skills? Welcome to Tea at Taxevity, where you get insights from insiders who make life better, our many clients and friends. I'm Pramod Sharma, the actuary at Taxevity, and I help people tame financial risks with life and health insurance. Our guest today is Jim Czegledi. Welcome, Jim.
Thank you.
Jim, what do you do when you're not being interviewed?
Well, I help skilled people develop their people skills.
Oh, you have to be a skilled person already?
Well, everybody has skill in certain areas, and I just help those people develop skills in the people skills area.
Okay, and what are people skills?
People skills are really the simple skills we use every day, Promo, to connect better with people, to relate better to them, and simply just get along better with them and get more done.
Okay, but I'm an actuary. I have lots of technical skills. No one tested me on whether I was good with people. Why would I need to worry about people skills?
Well, first of all, I do think you are good with people. We've known each other for a little while, and I really do think you are good with people. People skills are important because we live with people and we work with them. And the beauty about people skills, it helps to get the best from people and get the best from ourselves also.
Because what I found, because when I was going through school, I did focus more on the grades and the technical skills because that's what I knew. And then I found out once I graduated that people don't really care about those skills so much as they do how you get along with other people, can you manage your time, etc. And I just wish I knew more about these people skills earlier in my life.
Well, the reality is if you can't get along with people, then it doesn't really matter how skilled you are in other areas. So you really need a balance.
There seem to be counterexamples like Steve Jobs, who was never accused of having a lot of people skills, but he seemed to do okay.
Well, it appears to, and I'm certain the people that surrounded him were rich in people skills, and no one really knows how much better somebody could become if they had more people skills. So I think it's an area everybody can work on and everybody can improve on.
You have a very interesting background, and that's how you acquired your people skills. Can you tell us how you got started?
Sure. I've been in the ministry for more than 25 years, and I call the ministry, or being a minister, being in the ultimate people business, where literally you deal with people from the cradle to the grave. So you deal with people from all kinds of ages and in all kinds of stages of life. And you see the best in people in the best situations, and you see, sadly, the worst of people in worse situations. And it really takes people skills to navigate those situations and be at your best and encourage them to do the same.
Did you learn your people skills in a particular way, or was it just from practical experience?
Well, both. You can always develop your skills. You can always be aware to work on them. And I was just in so many situations which required them that it really gave me the opportunity to practice, to get lots of practice.
And which people skills do you think are the most important at work?
Communication is the biggest. Communication is the biggest people skill of them all because we're always communicating whether we realize it or not. The question is, what are we communicating?
Right.
So communication, I'm sure we'll talk about later, is one of the most important people skills. Also, having a positive attitude. Attitude is incredibly important because it affects and it colors everything that we do. Relationship building one to another is extremely important, as well as team skills, working with people. So those would be the largest people skills. And then there's also conflict management, dealing with difficult people, problem solving. So there are other people skills also, but I would say communication probably is the largest of them all.
Okay, and what can people do to improve their communication skills?
Well, in a word, they can listen better. And you might be surprised that I say
Sorry,
that.
what did you say?
Yeah, that's a good one because having a sense of humor is also a people skill. But listening, people think they're all good listeners because it's something we do all the time, every day.
And we keep being told you improve your listening skills and mirror and do all these sorts of things, but you're saying it's still a challenge.
Absolutely, it is a challenge. And one way to improve your communication skills is to develop your listening skills. And the listening skills that I talk about, I call them empathetic listening skills. And really what that is to listen with your eyes as well as with your ears.
Well, what do you mean by listening with your eyes?
Listening with your eyes really enables you to try to see the perspective from which the other person is coming from, is to try to see the world as they see it, is to put yourself in their place. Everybody knows the definition of empathy is to walk a mile in someone's shoes. And that is very true. But you can even go beyond that. You can really try to see where they are coming from, what perspective they are holding, and how they are viewing the situation. And once you can begin to see that, you can really begin to connect with them and to communicate with them on a very different level.
That what you're saying makes a lot of sense, and it also seems really hard. How does someone get started with that?
By being aware, first of all, of these realities and how important it is, and then simply just testing it out, just literally practice. I mean, the beauty about people skills is we can practice them 24/7. Whether at home, whether we're in the store shopping, or whether at work, we are always involved with people. So you get the opportunity to practice and to hone your skills all the time. And perspective taking, or understanding things from another person's perspective, is really a matter of a lot of practice and just simply being aware and trying to see things in that light.
You talked about the importance of having a positive attitude. Is a sense of humor related to that?
Absolutely, because a sense of humor is an attitude. Humor really is an attitude.
Wait a second. What do you mean humor is an attitude? Humor is telling jokes and laughing.
That is more to do with comedy. I mean, comedy is telling jokes, comedy is laughing, but laughter is the end product of humor or comedy. So you can make those distinctions. But humor in and of itself is a perspective. It is seeing the world from a different perspective, focusing on the funny and not always on the fatal, as I like to say, is taking yourself not so seriously, it's lightening up. And it's just seeing the lighter side of life. But first and foremost, humor is really an attitude, one of lightheartedness.
Okay, that's a very interesting way to put it. So it sounds like what I've heard is that it's good to look at things from someone else's perspective, looking through our eyes when we listen. But with humor, maybe we're using a totally different perspective.
Yeah.
And so maybe it helps us move from our perspective to someone else's, and maybe another person too.
That can help you change perspectives, and also gives you a perspective on yourself. You know, I always say to take your work seriously, but yourself lightly. Like, humor is all about perspective, and that's what makes us laugh, is when we see the reality against the perspective that we hold against it. And that's really what a punchline of a joke does for us, for example. But you don't have to tell jokes to be funny. And it's just the capacity to see the lighter side of life and just to lighten up and to laugh. Well, laughter is a great way to connect with people, to develop relationships, because it puts people at ease.
Because one of the challenges we have in these interviews is that many of our guests have not been interviewed before, especially not on a camera. And we want to make sure they're comfortable. And when we see that they're smiling and chuckling, then we know that something magical has happened.
Yeah, and that's the effect of positive humor. It's the ability to laugh with people, but not at them.
You talk about trust a lot. What's the importance of trust in relationships?
Trust is vital to relationships. I talk about trust and respect. And these are values that shape our behaviors and also shapes our skills in terms of our relationships with one another. What people don't understand about trust is that it really begins with self-trust. We have to begin to trust ourselves, because if we can't trust ourselves, how then can we trust others? And trust really is knowing that somebody else has your back. And respect is really all about valuing somebody as a human being, first of all, and the contribution that they're capable of making is the value that they're capable of adding, to respect that value and to respect their human capability. And so trust and respect are absolutely crucial in relationships, and respect also begins with ourselves. We need enough self-respect in order to respect others also.
You mentioned a number of people skills. Do you suggest that we work on all of them at once, or that we pick the most important one and focus on that first?
That's an excellent question. I encourage people to work on one at a time, and they can identify one that they need to work on. It might be more assertive, for example, in terms of their communication. So using more I statements, I can, I will, those types of statements, and they might want to work on that particular skill for a while. It might be listening, as we spoke about before. It might be establishing relationships or conflict management. So I would encourage people to work on one skill at a time until they are more comfortable using it.
How do you help people with their people skills?
Well, I do it in a couple of ways. One is I'm a professional speaker, as you know, so I speak to groups, associations, and corporations and groups, and I talk about people skills and their effect on people and organizations. I talk about how they boost employee engagement, which is our energy and our enthusiasm which we bring to work. And really people skills such as mentoring, coaching, and communication are really the keys to boosting employee engagement at work. So that's one area in which I help people develop their people skills. And I also do people skills coaching, where I speak with people who want to develop their skills. They choose a skill they feel that they need to develop, and we go from there.
And I think your background makes you an ideal person to help with these kinds of skills.
It certainly it certainly is the case, I believe, because I've had more than 25 years of working very, very closely with people in all kinds of different settings and circumstances, and this has been a real test for people skills.
What's your main message for the people watching today?
Well, my main message would simply be people skills are skills that you can develop. Some people think that you have to be born with them, but that's not the case. You can develop your skills. And like I said, these skills can be worked on 24/7, whether you're in a grocery store standing in line impatiently, or whether you are dealing with family or friends or at work. You can always be working on your people skills if you choose to.
What's the best way for people to reach you?
The best way for people to reach me would be at my website, www.peopleskillsguy.com. So peopleskillsguy.com, and they can contact me there. And while they're on my site, there are certain tools they can use and some resources that they might be able to avail themselves of.
Thanks for dropping by, Jim.
Pleasure.
Thanks for joining us for Tea at Taxevity. The Taxevity Insurance Advisory helps you understand insurance and bridges gaps in your coverage. There's no premium for peace of mind. How healthy is your insurance?